If you own a Toyota, it doesn't mean it was built in Japan. If you have a Mercedes-Benz, it doesn't mean it was made in Deutschland either. In fact, either of those cars could have been made in America. Today, we're looking at why Toyotas that are built in Japan and Mercedes that are made in Germany are actually better than the ones assembled in the U.S. in more ways than one. Here's why. Let's start with Toyota. Currently, there are 5 Toyota models that are made in Japan and then shipped to the U.S. The Prius, Mirai, Land Cruiser 4Runner, and the 86. And did you know that there are other countries that make and build Toyotas and also ship them to the U.S., like the Toyota Yaris? Surprisingly enough, the Yaris is built out in France. Or the Toyota CHR, would you guess Turkey? Toyota also has other overseas plants that build out their cars. This includes the U.S. plus other countries, including Canada, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, England, Italy, China, Korea, and a few others. So, where was your Toyota built? Chances are it was indeed made here in the U.S. if you own a Sienna, Sequoia, Highlander, RAV4 Hybrid, Camry, Avalon, Tacoma, Tundra, or Corolla. But if you want to know for sure, it's quite simple. Just check the Vehicle Identification Number, also known as the VIN number. The first character of your VIN tells you the country where your car was manufactured and assembled. If your VIN starts with a letter, that means your vehicle was manufactured outside of North and South America. If you see the letter J, this means it was assembled in Japan. K stands for Korea. L is for China, S is for the UK, W is for Germany, and Z is for Italy. But if your VIN starts with a number, that means it was manufactured outside of Japan. If your car was assembled in the US, then the first character of your car's VIN will show either the numbers 1, 4, or 5. If you see the number 2, your car was made in Canada. 3 means Mexico, 6 is Australia, 7 is New Zealand, and 8 or 9 means South America. You can see your car's VIN on the front driver's side window of your car, and you should be able to see it from the outside. If you can't, it's usually written on your car insurance card or documents. You can also check the title and registration logged with the Department of Motor Vehicles. Your VIN just doesn't indicate where your car comes from, but the location information alone can reveal something about the quality of your car too. For example, if you have a Toyota, best case scenario is that your VIN starts with the letter J for Japan. In 2019, some 2.3 million Toyotas were sold in the U.S. Of those, half of those Toyotas were actually made here in America. So you can see a lot of Toyotas get built here in U.S. soil. And here's the question. Why are Toyotas that are made in Japan so much better than the American counterparts? The biggest difference is the build quality. Toyotas built in Japan have much better build quality compared to the Toyotas built in the USA. A lot of it has to do with the strong Japanese work ethic and discipline. Did you know there's a Japanese philosophy that's literally called continuous improvement? It's known as Kaizen. Some call it the art of perfection. Someone once told me that in Japan, Kaizen gets taught to all children from a very young age. I haven't verified if it's true or not. But one thing is certain, Toyota for sure is famous for embodying this philosophy. This plays a big part in producing a manufacturing workforce that is highly disciplined in everything they do, down to the very last detail. And on top of it, the Japanese workers' dedication to continuous improvement, they're also well known for their unwavering dedication to their work. It's a mindset. And then you look at the U.S. I'm not saying that American workers aren't interested in producing high build quality. They are. But they just aren't as good at it as the Japanese are. And workers in the U.S. car manufacturing industry are also becoming less and less motivated in their jobs and their field. This isn't my opinion. The U.S. car manufacturing industry has been described as a declining field with unprofessional dead-end jobs. And there was a study done by the Fabricators and Manufacturers Association. It found that among U.S. teens, a whole 52% expressed little or no interest in a manufacturing career. Compare that to the workforce in Japan, you can see why build quality in Toyota is just so much better. But did you know that technicality-wise, Toyota parts in the U.S. and in Japan are the same on paper? But many owners believe that even small components like nuts and bolts differ in Japanese versus American-built Toyotas. Actually, there are even online forums where people claim that Japanese-made parts are more solid. But now, let's talk about Mercedes-Benz. Everyone knows that Mercedes-Benz is one of the top luxury car brands in the world. They're headquartered in Stuttgart, Germany. But they don't manufacture all cars exclusively in Germany. In fact, Mercedes has manufacturing facilities in 22 different countries. I'm talking about manufacturing plants in Austria, Argentina, France, Brazil, Hungary, and of course the U.S. These facilities were created because of the high demand for their vehicles and strict import restrictions in various countries. The Stuttgart plant was built all the way back in 1904. Today it's one of the largest Mercedes plants. They have some 19,000 employees. This is where the Mercedes transmissions, engines, and axles get made. This is also where you'll find the Mercedes-Benz research and development team. So if you're wondering where Mercedes-Benz is planning its future electric vehicle batteries, it's here at the Stuttgart facility. Did you know that Mercedes also has a large plant here in the U.S.? It's located in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It was founded in 1995, and some 3,700 people work at the facility. In fact, the Alabama plant was actually the first major Mercedes-Benz manufacturing facility outside of Germany. Today, this Alabama plant makes the Mercedes-Benz SUVs, including the GLE Class, GLE Coupe, and GLS Class. This facility is also known for making the Mercedes C-Class sedans. Recently, there's been a new addition to the Made in America Mercedes family, the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter. This is Mercedes' very own camper van. Sprinters for American consumers are assembled in South Carolina, but they get their core parts shipped in from Europe. And they've been doing that since 2006, but it wasn't always an easy process. Actually, the vice president of Mercedes-Benz Vans USA, Bernie Glasser, once said that the logistics process was a nightmare and a burden. You see, at the time, there was a 25% tariff on imports. Pretty much, the U.S. was taxing car makers that built trucks and commercial vans overseas before shipping them into the U.S. This tax was nicknamed the chicken tax. Actually, the original chicken tax was set by President Lyndon B. Johnson after France and West Germany put a tariff on American imported chicken. Anyway, Mercedes wanted to avoid the double-digit tax, so they disassembled each Sprinter before shipping it overseas from Germany. And once the parts arrived in the U.S., they would put them back together again on U.S. soil. But despite the chicken tax, the Sprinter van has been seeing annual sales growth since its debut in the U.S. in 2010. In fact, in 2010, the Sprinter outpaced the large van segment with its best ever U.S. performance. But things changed in 2016. American car makers started building more and more affordable vans. Take the Ford Transit, for example, and Mercedes didn't want to place last in the competition. So in 2016, Mercedes made plans for a new $500 million addition to their commercial van factory in South Carolina, with a goal of employing 1,300 people by 2020. Construction was completed just in time. Assembling the vans at American soil meant they can avoid the chicken tax and cut costs, in addition to building more vans and delivering them faster to the American market. In 2019, Mercedes released the third-generation Sprinter. It offered new connectivity services and navigation software and 3-liter turbocharged 6-cylinder diesel engines. It was also the company's first-ever gasoline model. Later, they got a huge mark of validation when they received a call from Amazon, the e-commerce giant. Amazon placed an impressive order with Mercedes. They wanted 20,000 Sprinter vans for use as their blue delivery vehicles. Right now, Amazon is Mercedes' largest Sprinter customer in the world. In fact, Amazon is the very reason why the U.S. is the second largest market globally for the Sprinter. If you flew to Germany or Austria today, you see the streets filled with taxis. But it's not your usual American yellow cab, but rather you'd see Mercedes taxis. Really? Mercedes taxis are actually rather common there. But why would anyone choose a luxury brand out of all cars to use as taxis? In these countries, drivers pay less taxes when they purchase lower-cost cars. If you're a taxi driver in Germany and you decide to go for an imported Ford Fiesta as your ride, you'd probably end up paying much more in taxes than a driver who goes for a Mercedes E-Class. That's why it's more economically sound for you to choose a domestic Mercedes if you're a taxi driver in Europe. But that doesn't mean that all German luxury cars are used for taxis. Just don't expect to see a BMW, Audi, or Porsche taxi on your next trip to Germany or Austria anytime soon. That's because the cost of insurance and maintenance of these cars is way higher than for a Mercedes-Benz. And most people would agree that Mercedes offers more reliable cars than many other brands. There's another reason why Mercedes are popular as taxis in Germany. Driving a taxi used to be considered a luxury. The rich preferred getting chauffeured in a prestigious car. And that was the exact image Mercedes portrayed. That's another reason why drivers choose Mercedes as taxis. Today, typically, the Mercedes-Benz E-Class and S-Class are the popular models used as taxis, mainly because they offer more interior space and legroom, and they can generally easily accommodate different types of passengers and luggage. I took a Mercedes taxi to the airport in London when I was there. And it's not just German-speaking countries that use Mercedes for their taxis. Countries like Cyprus, Greece, Monaco, and Denmark do so too. Here's something many people don't know. The model number of Mercedes is higher on U.S. vehicles compared to European ones. For example, if you're in Europe and you have a Mercedes S500, well, that same car in America is called the S550. I'm talking about the exact same twin-turbo 4.7-liter V8 that makes 449 horsepower. Just a different name. And it's not just Mercedes S-Class models that changed their badge numbers in the U.S. Just look at the Mercedes G-Wagon. The base level version is called the G550 in the U.S., but in Europe it's called the G500. The V8-powered GLS is called the GLS 550 in the U.S., but in Europe it's called, you guessed it, the GLS 500. So what's the logic? Currently, there's two theories. One is pretty straightforward. For Americans, bigger is usually better. And so having a 550 sounds much cooler than a plain old 500. But here's another theory. This one says that badging is actually more accurate this way. In the past, the numbers in a Mercedes model used to indicate the engine size. A C280 had a 2.8-liter engine. A 500E had a 5-liter engine. And when the 550 badge numbers started popping up in the U.S. back in 2007, those vehicles used a 5.5-liter engine. Of course, that engine doesn't even exist anymore. Today, Mercedes are closer to the 400-liter mark, but who wants an S400 when you could get an S550? Most people have heard of the Honda Insight and the Toyota Prius. Those were the earliest ones to enter the market, and they grew in popularity worldwide because of rising gasoline prices and environmental concerns. And today, there are many other makes and models in the market. So what's a hybrid EV? Put simply, it's a 100% gas-fueled car that doesn't rely solely on its gas engine for motion. That's because the hybrid also has an electric motor. The electric motor sometimes powers the car and delays the use of the gas engine to save fuel. At times, both the gas engine and electric motor work together for added power. In a standard hybrid car, the combustion engine drives a generator, which recharges the battery as you drive. The battery is also charged using regenerative braking, which captures waste energy as the car slows down. These cars are sometimes called self-charging hybrids. Hybrids have been in the market since the late 1990s, much longer than plug-ins or all-electric cars. Hybrid sales peaked in 2013 when some 500,000 hybrids were sold. Currently, some of the most popular hybrids in the world include the Toyota RAV4, Ford Fusion, and Toyota Prius. In late 2010, Chevrolet released the Volt in the U.S. It was the first commercially available plug-in hybrid EV. So what's a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, or PHEV? And how does it differ from the standard hybrid EV or the fully electric vehicle? A plug-in hybrid is similar to a hybrid in that it has a gas tank, electric motor, and battery. But the battery is larger and it also has a charging port. So you can recharge a PHEV via an external power source, like your house. When the battery is charged and the gas engine is dormant, the car drives and behaves pretty much like a fully electric vehicle. But when the battery runs down, then the gas engine comes to life, so that the car can continue moving much like a conventional hybrid. Like the hybrid, the PHEV also uses regenerative braking to save fuel. Some people make the mistake of calling a plug-in hybrid a hybrid, but that's not entirely correct. If you can plug your hybrid in and fill it up, it's a plug-in hybrid. Let's talk about the fully electric or battery electric vehicle known as the BEV. Did you know that the majority of battery electric cars in the U.S. are on the West Coast? Doesn't surprise me. Predominantly, it's in California, Washington, Oregon, followed by Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, and Utah. In 2006, there was a small Silicon Valley startup in the name of Tesla Motors. It aimed to make a luxury electric sports car that could cover more than 200 miles on a single charge. The first Tesla Roadster was delivered in 2008. It was the first highway-legal serial production all-electric car to use lithium-ion battery cells. In 2010, Tesla received a $465 million loan from the Department of Energy, which, by the way, Tesla repaid 9 years earlier than scheduled. Tesla used the loan to build a manufacturing facility in California. So how does the all-electric or battery electric car different from the hybrid or plug-in hybrid? The clue is the name itself. A BEV runs exclusively on an electric battery. This type of car doesn't have a gasoline engine or gas tank. Needless to say, since the all-electric car runs only on battery, you can see why the battery and electric motor of BEVs are significantly larger than those of a hybrid. Other recognizable examples of all-electric vehicles include the Ford Mustang Mach-E and the Nissan Leaf. Now that we've defined each technology, let's dive a little deeper. What are the advantages and disadvantages of each system compared to each other and to the conventional internal combustion engine? Let's start with pure hybrids. They usually cost less than plug-in hybrids or battery electric cars. There's also a lot more hybrid models to choose from compared to other alternative technologies. With a hybrid, you don't have to change much of your habits. You just pump in gas like you normally do with a traditional combustion engine car. And the rest of the time, your car is charging itself up when you're driving, coasting, or braking. A hybrid, in essence, is self-charging. So you don't have to worry about recharging your car via an external source. A hybrid pretty much drives like the regular automatic car, since the car's computer and electronic system does the thinking for you when it chooses how best to optimize efficiency or power. The task of the electric motor in a hybrid is to reduce the load on the internal combustion engine. And the gas engine, in turn, can be used as an electricity generator that operates the electric motors. With a hybrid, The electric motor handles light effort duties like low-speed acceleration and driving and stop-and-go traffic. The electric motor is more efficient at generating torque, and the internal combustion engine is more efficient at maintaining high speeds. So, switching between the engine and electric motor for different speeds and different situations means your car can use fuel more efficiently than a traditional combustion engine. A driver of a hybrid cannot manually choose whether to drive on fuel or electricity. The switching process is controlled by a powerful computer that determines the mode, depending on the driving situation. For example, let's say you're downtown, you're stuck in traffic. Well, the computer knows it's more economical to use electricity. Later, when you've cleared traffic and your car needs to pick up the full speed, the car will switch to the gasoline engine. But what if your car needs to accelerate intensively and more often? In that case, the computer can turn on the engine and the motor at the same time. So you can see how smart it is. And that's why hybrids outperform combustion engine cars in terms of city mileage. But the downside with a hybrid comes when you're traveling at higher speeds. It's not as economical. Also, hybrids can only drive a short distance on battery alone, usually a mile or so. So it's at a disadvantage compared to a plug-in hybrid or all-electric vehicle in terms of electric range. That is the reason why hybrids make more sense if you're a city driver. But now let's look at the plug-in hybrid. One advantage is less range anxiety. Since a plug-in hybrid has a larger battery, a typical PHEV can drive some 20 to 30 miles on battery alone. So you can see it has more electric range than a conventional hybrid, which can only drive a mile or so on battery alone. Once the battery is empty, the car replies by turning on the gas engine until you're able to recharge. But the plug-in's larger battery also comes with disadvantages. Since the battery is larger, the car can't recharge itself while driving the way a hybrid can. That's why you have to plug it in and recharge the battery. Also, the larger battery means extra weight, which affects how it drives and the gas mileage it gets. So if your lifestyle is such that you don't mind letting your car sit at night to recharge, and if your regular city daily commute is short and within the electric range, then a PHEV is a good option for you. But if your route involves regular long journeys, then the battery becomes dead weight when your battery goes flat. This means reduced car performance and more fuel costs compared to even a conventional internal combustion engine car. Bottom line is, the PHEV is beneficial if you have specific short commutes or journey styles. Another advantage to a PHEV is that it can offer very quick acceleration, like all electric cars. But that feature is expensive and is usually available in range-topping high-performance models. A disadvantage is the need for charging facilities. So you want to be mindful of how easy and accessible those are, depending on where you live or drive. But let's take a look at the all-electric or battery electric car. One advantage with a fully electric car is that you don't need to visit the gas station or get regular oil changes. Many BEVs can sometimes do 200 to 300 miles or more before requiring a full recharge. The Lucid Air can do up to 517 miles and has 1,080 horsepower. Offer the most electric range compared to the hybrid or plug-in hybrid. Nevertheless, its driving range is still lower than the 300 mile per tank average of a traditional combustion engine. The EV's high-capacity battery packs are large since the car relies solely on battery power. The actual batteries are typically lithium-ion cells that are stacked and then grouped into modules. That's why electric cars cost more than equivalent combustion engine cars. In fact, some can be 20 to 30% more. But industry analysts expect the price gap to get smaller in the years to come. An electric car needs to be plugged in to be recharged, similar to a plug-in hybrid car. So one of the most common concerns is how or where to charge the car. A standard EV can take 30 minutes to reach 80% battery capacity if you're using the fastest, most powerful, most expensive chargers out there. But if you use the more affordable charger, well, it's lower powered, so recharging can take hours. An advantage, of course, to the BEV is the zero tailpipe emissions. As such, you may qualify for certain federal tax credits and incentives, depending on the vehicle make and model and the capacity of the car's battery pack measured in kilowatt hours. So which is best, hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or all electric? At the end of the day, it really depends on your specific driving routine, lifestyle, and comfort. It's no one-size-fits-all. So here's the thing. If you want to burn less gas and have better fuel efficiency than a traditional combustion engine, then a hybrid is a good option. The hybrid emits less pollutants into the air. You don't really need to change your current driving habits at all, and the cost isn't that much more than a conventional combustion engine car. An all-electric car means no more trips to the gas station or oil changes. You also get a performance boost combined with zero emission. But if you're not keen about setting up a home charging station, or you're not comfortable with finding charging ports away from home, or if you're not open to paying more for an EV, then the battery electric car might not be the best choice for you. A plug-in hybrid can be the best of both worlds. If your driving needs are fairly routine and predictable, you can use electricity. If you want to take an occasional road trip, then the gas engine will do the job without needing to recharge. Also, the price of a PHEV is typically somewhere between the cost of a hybrid and a fully electric car. So they're a great choice if you want to try out fully electric cars, because when you run out of electricity, then the gas engine runs and you're not stranded anywhere. But now, you tell me, what's your preference? Please comment and share your opinions and experiences below. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to my channel for more car history and technology videos. Thanks for your support.